Alright, well, we're gonna go through basically what I would consider just to be a primer in how to play Minecraft. I know a lot of people are interested in playing this game and might feel like it's a little daunting when you get started, so we're gonna treat this as sort of an essential get off the ground playthrough. I'm not gonna go through everything because, to be honest, the game is massive. So, that's out of scope. Let's just look at a few things real quick. I'm also going to say that we're having some Wild Turkey Long Branch over here. So, thank you, Matthew McConaughey, for blessing us with this delicious whiskey. Anyway, most of this stuff should all be pretty good. Not really a whole lot here that you really need to go through so much. Again, there's a whole lot of nonsense you can put on here. The one thing to look for are these resources where these things are some different texture packs and stuff like that that you can put on. So, for example, you can see that I have these two here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to always add these on to what are called my active global packs. So if while you're playing you notice that the game doesn't quite look the same when you're playing it as it does when I'm playing it, that would be why. You can see there that's updating the 2-pack. So once that loaded, we're going to go ahead and start our little tutorial world here. Hopefully this shit doesn't lock up on us. Alright, very good. So, we're going to start this off here, and as you can see, I had a few other things here that were set up previously. I don't even remember what I was doing in some of these worlds. So, let's just leave all those alone. And let's start a new world here. So, when you go to new, create new world. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and say we want to create a new one. And when this window comes up, the first thing I would say is that when you're starting out, have no shame. I do feel like play in survival mode, because otherwise you're going to be missing some crucial components. Now, what does survival mode mean as opposed to creative? Well, survival mode means that you will get hungry. You will need to eat to replenish some things like stamina and health. And the monsters will come out and attack you, especially at night. So when the sun goes down, you need to make sure that you have some sort of shelter up, otherwise you will get blasted. So for the sake of this beginning learning, we're going to take this and turn this on to easy. So the monsters won't really come at us too bad, no worries. Again, if you're starting off and you want to help yourself out, you can give yourself this bonus chest. But we're going to play it raw, so I'm going to turn that off. I do recommend that you start with a starting map. Part of the reason why that is useful is because if you are playing with friends, you can use that map to find the coordinates of where they are so that you can find yourselves and not get totally and completely lost. So, do pay attention to that. The rest of this, joining from invite, all this is fine. World type, okay, flat is if you ever want to experiment that generates a completely flat sort of world. That's good when you're playing around with advanced stuff later on. I wouldn't worry about it too much here at the start. Old builds you a very small sort of world map. Again, I feel like that's not a bad choice when you're first learning. You might not see as much of a variety of things when you're playing that mode. But it is good for learning purposes, and actually I think I'm going to use that simply because it will keep things a little smaller, a little easier to see. Infinite mode is just like it says, about infinite, so the world goes on and on and on. Pretty great, adds a lot to the adventure aspect of it, but for this sake, again, we're just going to pick an old map. Now, seed is something you don't really have to worry about too much. That's kind of a random generator of what the map is going to make. Now, you can see here that if you go over and you select that thing on the side, they do have a bunch of ones sort of pre-generated that you can pick if you'd like. You can leave it blank, at which point it will just generate one for you that's random. You can put one in there if you'd like. So let's just do this. I'm gonna be goofy here and just call this one. This is going to be learning Minecraft. And the reason why I'm going to put that in there is that way then if you want to use this exact same map and follow along with some of the things that we've gone through, that'll be easy for you. So there you can see the seed is learning Minecraft, no spaces with a capital L. Remember that the world type is set to old. I'm going to name this. We're just going to call this... call this learning some shit. Alright. Great. Simulation distance, 8 chunks. I forget entirely what that does. I don't know if I need to mess with that too much. I think it's something to do with how far the simulation goes, but we'll leave that alone for now. I also would say turning friendly fire off is nice. If you want to have people on there and you want to be able to smash each other around, that's great. But as I was watching a game played with 2 people that were learning earlier today, they were trying to work together. One player accidentally bashed the other one in the back and knocked her over the edge of a cliff. That can be unfortunate, especially if you panic when there's monsters around. So again, I would say maybe until you get some experience, maybe leave that off. So fine, we're going to turn friendly fire off. I'm not going to check show coordinates. Distance chunks, learning Minecraft, old world type, no bonus chest, with a map, on easy, survival. Alright, here we go. Hopefully this generates a quality map and not something that's akin to a disaster. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here, realize that Minecraft is one of those games that really you get out what you put in. Now, there is a whole go to the netherworld and kill the ender dragon, do all the rest of that stuff, but I'm going to go under the auspice of you're probably playing this to just have fun, mess around, so that's the way I'm going to run this tutorial. So, first things first, X brings up a crafting inventory. Nothing that we can really do with that right yet. Y is our inventory, don't really have much in there. So, first things first, the very first thing you want to do is pull up this map and look at it. That way then we sort of know where we're standing and what's around us. Great. So, we're going to put that back around. Very first thing you want to do is wood, wood, wood. Alright, now I shouldn't have really picked up this piece of dirt. We're going to fill this hole back in. Let's grab more of this wood. Now, why do we want to grab a whole bunch of wood at the start? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to generate yourself a workbench, a chest, and then you want to be able to make yourself some tools. Now, the tools that we're going to make are like this. The first ones we're going to make are going to be some very simple wood tools. And the only thing we're going to do is we're going to generate a wooden axe and a wooden pickaxe. We're not going to bother with the other tools off the start. And the reason why is because the wood tools are crap garbage and you want to get stone tools as fast as possible. So let's first just complete this here and grab these little pieces of this wood. Okay, for now that's probably fine. Let's just initially say, like, we've got some other neat terrain around here, but we'll explore later. So first things first, we're going to bring up our crafting area here. We do need planks. We don't need the oak wood right now. We need planks. So we're just going to mash this and build a whole bunch of planks. Okay, now that we've got 40 of them, what you can see is that I don't know what this loom is, but who cares? Right now we're going to build a crafting table, okay? So you really only need one of them, and we're just going to stick that down right here, smack dab in our little grove. Okay, right or left trigger to place. Now when we use this, what you're going to see, okay, is now that we want to make some sticks. So we're going to make a couple bundles of sticks. You can see that the sticks take those other planks, which is why realistically I say when you got the wood like this, when you're starting, just mash and build a whole bunch of those, good to go. Now, we got a good portion of wood going already. So right now we're just gonna make one pickaxe. Okay. So we've got our pickaxe. Now what? The first thing that you want to do is just quickly scout and scope around and look and see, do we have anything around that looks like stone? Now you want cobblestone, because if you don't mine cobblestone, then you're not going to be able to necessarily use that for your tools. This here is what cobblestone looks like. Okay? Now see how it makes those little gray little nodule looking things? So we're going to start off by just grabbing whatever here is right out simply in the open. Okay. Now, this game also has a few interesting sort of concepts. One of them is that, in a certain sense, the sun does rise in the east, set in the west. So if you do ever get lost, also note, now that's dirt, right? But we'll just clear that out of the way, and I'll explain why we'll clear that out of the way here in a minute. So just note that right now we need to make sure that we hurry up, because we want to have somewhere that we can protect ourselves when nightfall comes. And what we're going to do during nightfall is, a lot of people originally want to run around and get a bed. I find that to be initially unnecessary. Is good to get some food, so we'll kill that poor little chicken. Alright, you can see what we've got now is now we have what we really want. You want stone tools. The wooden tools are just fucking garbage. So build a couple of those, get yourself a stone axe. Realistically, do we need the other shovel thing right now? No, we don't. So inventory management, let's keep our stuff clean. I always put my pickaxe all the way to the left. We're going to rearrange that. I like to stack them. Right. Move this over there. Great. So now you'll be able to watch the speed at which we can mine through stone, and how that's just so much bigger and better than what we had. So the other thing we're going to do right now is we're going to chop up this crafting table. We're going to take it with us. So what we need and want in the meantime is more wood. So look how much faster this axe now allows us to do our work. So the stone tools are really important early on, and you're going to use stone tools for quite a long time, realistically until you start finding iron. So until you start finding stuff good and deep in the ground, you're going to be using stone a lot. And the great thing about stone, the stone tools, they're easy to create. The resources are plentiful. The stuff's all over the place. So that will really help you out. And realistically, at the start, the big thing is you just want a couple to get building things off the ground. What you'll find is that you'll end up with hordes of stone and everything else later on. So at the beginning, this is just a matter of getting yourself situated so that you can survive your first night. And then while the first night is going, we have some stuff to keep ourselves busy. And that will also set us up to allow us to be able to build more things down the line, so that we're not necessarily counting on like random drops and stuff at the beginning to get us our resources. So we've got a lot of wood. We're just going to continue to cut down this tree. I would say avoid if you're like me, your potential need to want to make everything perfectly geometric and symmetrical at the beginning of the game. Here, that won't necessarily benefit you. We are going to kill this cow because he's just hanging out over here. So, sorry, Mr. Cow. That's the end of that. We're going to run over here and kill this one. That way, then at least we have some food. And also, the other thing is, you can grab yourself a sword. I personally don't really find that. Now, when you look up your inventory, so we'll pull our inventory up. Now, you can see that the stone axe does 4 attack damage. The picks does 3. You can look at it later. The stone sword does do more, but I personally don't find it worth it to have it in your inventory at this level of the game. It just clutters things up. Just have a couple of good axes that you always have on hand that are around with you, and that way then you don't have to worry about it so much. So out here in the rest of the world, you can see we've got some other neat things going on. That looks like some rich stone over there. Looks like we've got some other plants and stuff going on. We do have a nice water source here. So a good place to build your first little sort of house is, hey, if you're by water and you have some initial spot where you've got some stone, you've got some sand, that's a good place to start out. And I would say my other recommendation is when you're first getting going, don't overbuild your first house. It's gonna seem a little dopey, but realistically, just get over and done with it so that you've got a quick place to put your stuff. Keep your stone, keep your wood off to the side. So again, I'm a big fan of keeping your inventory neat. So we're gonna put all that stuff there. Let's not waste some of our initial good stone tools on clearing out dirt. So what we want here at the beginning, we just want a little sort of a cave that we can use, that we can block off and lock ourselves inside of it so that we can work with some different resources. So what you need to do is you need to be sealed so that you have basically a room to make like a bed. So when you make a bed, you want to make sure that you don't have open gaps, because if monsters can see you or get in there, they will come in, destroy your stuff, so on and so forth. That's also the other reason why we want to make a chest. The reason why you want to make a chest is because if you make a chest and you die, you won't lose all of your stuff. Monsters won't come. Things that are dropped on the ground may eventually disappear, but if you put them in a chest, they will not. So again, what you can see here is I'm just digging out this tiny little cove in a cave here. This is much easier than at the start of trying to get together a bunch of other resources to craft a big house. Now, will I eventually? Sure, we can do all that. But here at the start, much easier and simple to just build yourself a little cove, a little cave like this. And it's nice if you can to have a spot that sort of faces out where you can see the distance. That way then you won't necessarily get lost. So we dug back into the stone. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wall this off. Unfortunately, it looks like I am going to have to use some of my stone blocks, which initially is a little disappointing, but not so bad. I don't like these blocks here, so let's wall that off. Okay, no, that's not too claustrophobic, at least at the start. So let's hurry up and see what we can get done before darkness totally comes. So let's put our crafting table down. There we go. Now, the next thing that's nice if we can do it is if we can build a door. So I'm going to build these oak doors. What's nice about that is if I put these doors here, now I can actually see outside. So now I'll be able to tell when the sun comes up. So, what do we have now? We have a little hidey fort in here. Monsters cannot get us. They won't be able to come through those doors. We are now safe. We can stay in here till the sun comes up. And in the meantime, we have a little hidey hole, a little space here where we can get some other stuff done. So the other thing that we're going to create here is we want to make a furnace. Now, all that stone that we mined, the 64 pieces of stone over there, 68 rather. So what we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves a furnace. Furnace will do a few things for us here right off the bat. That's kind of nice. So number one is if you open this furnace, okay, you have your two slots of fuel and object. So what we want to do is we want to take some of our oak logs here, and what we're going to do is we're going to put these over here, and I'm going to use the X button to place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to come up here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what this is going to do is this is going to make charcoal, and what we can do with charcoal is we can use charcoal to make torches and light the rest of this place. In the meantime, because we see some coal right here, now you can see the coal from those little sort of black specks on the stone. The coal burns much better, brighter, longer. In the meantime, to just replenish our stone supplies while that's burning, we're just going to tunnel out the rest of our little cave here. Now, I also have on occasion found that this my initial little cave ends up being just a great sort of quick repository to put stuff in there. So now what we're going to do is we want to save the rest of that. So we're going to put that away, and we're going to move our coal back up there, and we're going to get a lot more of this charcoal going. So we're going to pick this up. I don't necessarily want to put the whole entire stack on there. I don't know why that's not letting me. What the hell is it doing? That was weird. I wanted to put more of this oak over here. Got kind of strange. Eventually what you're going to find is you end up with so much of the stuff that it ends up not really being that big of a deal. You eventually end up with a lot of coal and that sort of stuff, but at the beginning when we're starting out, we just want enough of that so that we can make some torches and light our way. So again, this is sort of just about getting your initial feet off the ground. So while the rest of our furnace is over there cooking away, we want to just continue to hollow the rest of this out. You can see now we're got some stuff over here that's just some dirt. Eventually we're going to want to make a stone shovel as well. Again, I find the ones that you really want and use the most, is your pickaxe, to be honest. Once you move sort of beyond that pickaxe and you get to the regular axe for the trees, there really just becomes speed and convenience, and again, is a secondary weapon, because personally, until you have enough to maybe make iron swords and that sort of thing, I just don't find they're worth having the other extra inventory space. So I just use my axes for combat, and that way then, while I'm mining around if I encounter a monster, all I gotta do is hit my bumper, I'm here at my axe, and we can fight them off. So, continuing on, let's dig out the rest of our little corner area here. Okay, back over to our furnace. Now, you can see that that thing is burning, so what we don't want to do is we don't want to waste the rest of our coal that's burning. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of that, and what you can see is that the rest of this here still continues to burn. So that fire meter that's there, we want to just use the rest of that fire to burn the rest of our pieces of wood so that we can get charcoal and make torches. Torches are made by taking those sticks and making the sticks with a piece of charcoal or coal to make a torch. Torches don't ever go out. If you do knock them off the wall, you do get them back. So it's not like this game is some super ultra hardcore thing. So back to our little table here. What you're going to see now is over here on the side of our craftable stuff. So just going through this inventory stuff real quick. Campfire, I've never seen that before. But as you can see, torch, that takes one of our little pieces of coal and a stick. Let's build a campfire. We got the resources, why not? I haven't seen it before. Let's see what that looks like. We'll put one here in our cave and suffocate ourselves with carbon monoxide. How about that? So we're just going to put our campfire, I don't know, just put it over here. That's got some neat effects. Wonder if it eventually fills this room with smoke and kills us. Should probably put it outside. As you can see, in this case, we didn't necessarily get the campfire back, but we did get our resources, which is kind of cool. Now, what I usually tell people is what you want to do by your little home in your house, you definitely want to put some sort of light outside so that the creatures stay away from you. So, actually it looks like we didn't get everything back from our, so we didn't get everything back from that. We're missing some regular wood. Do you need like birch for that? Maybe you do. I'm out of sticks. So let's make some more sticks. Oh, as you can see, we had enough for this. We just needed to... I'm going to make 2 campfires. I'll show you why. I like to have an area outside my house that's brightly lit so that when you're out walking around at nighttime, should you sort of get lost, you can kind of see where your home base is located. So there, now even if we're out walking around and we sort of get lost at night, that chicken laid an egg, we're going to grab it. Sorry, chicken. Now, the other thing we can do while we're waiting for night to pass is we're going to come over here. We're going to take the pieces of beef that we got, and we're going to cook those as well. So we're just going to go over here, cook this beef. That cooked beef will give us more energy than the raw stuff. So in the meantime, what are some other things we want to do? Well, here's our chest. So if you put two chests side by side, they will make a larger chest, which is nice. But I've also found that in certain circumstances, I like having. My God, they added so much bullshit to this. I like having the separate little chests, mainly because it helps me organize stuff and remember what I've done where. So like this one, for example, here, we can put things like, I'm going to use this as my, just sort of my utility thing. So feathers, leather, stuff like that that I don't necessarily need right now. Just throw them in the chest. That way then if you need them later, you have them, and you don't, if you die, you get killed, you don't have to worry about losing all that stuff. You know where it's at. It's just over on the side. Let's put our chickens in there. Cook those too. And then what we want to do, let's see, what else do we need here to start off? Don't really need levers, buttons, bowls, or anything like that. Probably the next one that we're going to want to do is go ahead and find a way to make ourselves a bed. A lot of the rest of the stuff is just, honestly, accoutrement, things you need later that are sort of advanced. I mean, really, when you're starting, a nice thing to have is a boat. That way, then if you do want to travel and do some mining far away, you can. Some of these things, like this grindstone thing, I don't even know what the fuck that even does. Looks like over on the side we've got, I don't know what that just expands and contracts our other little recipe crafting grid. That doesn't help us at all. I don't know what the point of that is. Here's nature blocks you can, and you might wonder why you would make some of these. But so, for example, if you look at this, that does consolidate your inventory down, which can help if your inventory gets super cluttered. Same thing with like these andesite and these other special blocks. They don't really do a whole ton. They're just there to sort of brighten things up, make your life easier. Now, what's funny is you can see I have a zombie here right outside my gate. Even though the sun is up, if they're in the shade, they won't necessarily get killed. So we're going to open the door and then just kind of whoop this dude's ass. Then you can see Mr. Skeleton out there. He's waiting for us as well. He's hiding under a tree, so we're going to come over here and give him a piece of our mind as well. Now that you can see he's out in the sun, when they start burning like that, that's where typically your monsters can't kill you at night. Looks like, actually, another nice thing about these campfires is what I usually recommend to people is, okay, so see how we have these pieces of dirt? You know, stuff like this, it's nice if you can build it off the ground. And what's nice about that is then people who are at a distance will see those at a distance. I usually make some large tower spire thing somewhere. So, for example, you know, you just kind of hop up some tall spot there and put just a giant pillar of something, so that way then you can see it from a far away distance. I'm gonna kill you, Mr. Pig, because I want your delicious meat. Spiders during the day will not attack you. They will attack you at night or if you are underground. Otherwise, they'll just kind of follow you around and make threatening noises. So, let's go back into our little cave thing over here. The fuck's you following me over here, dude? You want a piece of this? Yeah, I'll show you what time it is on the street. Don't get your ass kicked. So, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to grab my foods. Move all those in there. We got some pork chops. Can have that be finished. Again, we got some more coal. Oak sapling, blah, 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 blah. The oak saplings, the little saplings like that, basically you can just plant those somewhere. Helps you replenish areas that you've cut down. The other nice thing about that is you can use the trees to sort of act as a barrier and block things off. But as it is right here at the start, you can see we're in a really good place now. At this point in the game, everything from here just becomes taking it easy and taking your time. We have a furnace, we have a table, but the only thing we want to do is go find sheep and get ourselves a bed. But if we take all the stuff that we've got, okay, again back in our chest, we can do things like take all this food. Now the food doesn't really spoil, at least not that I know of. So putting that all back over here, I'm going to keep my cooked beef, the 5 of the cooked beef, I'm going to keep that in my last inventory slot there for an emergency. I don't necessarily need this extra door. We probably should think about making some more tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. Let's help ourselves out. We're going to go over to the side. Let's build 2 axes. I like to have a couple of fresh picks along with me. We can do a shovel. Now the hoe is used for tilling soil, but I just find it again, the crops and all the rest of that stuff, it's advanced for a little later. You can see they do have some weapons in here, like, here's your iron axe, so on and so forth. But as I was saying, the stone sword, that's +5 attack damage. The stone axe is +4. So until you start doing enchanting level stuff, it's not really worth it in my opinion. Don't bother with it. When you get iron bars, you can make things like shields, that sort of stuff. I do think like the crossbow and stuff is nice. When you start really hunting around underground, that's what you're going to want to need. And so realistically, the way that works is when you start mining underground, what you're really going to want is you're going to want to make sort of a secondary little kind of a camp. And that secondary camp, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that that secondary camp that's down there has some of your little essentials, including a chest. So that way then if you die down there, you don't have to go be worried about collecting all your stuff. And I do recommend that you carry a bed down there as well. You can make yourself a small little shelter. Now, if you die in the game, you're either going to respawn where you started first on the map or where you last slept in a bed. Okay? So that's why it's important to eventually get a bed that you can sleep in. So let's make ourselves some torches. As you can see, we've got all sorts of torches here we can make. Now, for each one that we build, we get 4. So I really like to carry a lot of torches because they're great for marking your way. So let's just grab those and put those in there. Now, the other thing I will also recommend you do is we're going to make some more of these wooden planks. Okay, we're going to put a bunch of those aside. Okay, so now we have a lot of those. So what we're going to do is, because we don't really need to carry around all of those with us all the time, we're going to come over here, we're going to take those wood planks we just made. So actually let's build a second chest. I'm going to build a second chest just to make this a little clearer. So our second chest, we're going to put that over here. Okay, and this chest is going to be a little bit more. Now what we'll do is we'll signify this as maybe what we'll do is we'll dig this piece out here, and then I'm going to put this piece of dirt in the wall. That way then that one's like a material chest, and this one is going to be like, this one's going to be like our food, whatever, miscellaneous stuff. We're going to put like our building stuff in here. So what we're going to want to do is, because I don't really need to carry it around right now, we can go ahead and put this wood chunk in there. We can go ahead and take half of these wood planks and put them in here. We're also going to take this whole chunk of these cobblestone and move it so that we have 64. Okay. So why are we doing that? Well, if you die and you lose all the rest of this stuff, okay, now you're going to be able to come back in here and you're going to be able to say that you've at least got your initial planks and your stone to replenish your tools. I actually sometimes think it's even nice to leave, say, an axe and a pickaxe in here. That way then, at this point, you can get off the ground. Now, if you had a friend that was going to join you and going to play, they could walk over to that chest, they could open that up, and they've got everything that they need to get themselves immediately off the ground. It's a really nice way to sort of set yourself up so that when you die, and you probably will, you know, you encounter stuff in this game where, you know, you're underground and then all of a sudden something will just whack you, or you'll make a mistake and you'll dig into some lava pool, lava flow, and then the next thing you know is you're, you know, dead. But looking at this now, again, what you can see is we're really well, you know, we're really well set up. We've got a nice assortment of stone tools here to use. And now we can really just sort of get back into exploring. Now, because I'm a little bit finicky about it, oh, we should also probably put some of our charcoal in this box too. So let's put half of that over there. That's 10. So there, we have a nice little supply of that off in the meantime. We got a lot of torches. We got a lot of the rest of the stuff. We're in pretty good shape. So that's it. I mean, starting off, the thing here would be is if you have any other questions about this, let me know. But at this point in the game, you'd be flying high. You really, now it's all about just planning out what you want to do and having some fun. So let's maybe do that just here for a little bit, because we've only been playing for about a half hour here, and I feel like we can still go over a few other concepts. So let's come back outside. Another thing I usually do too, I don't like carrying around stuff that I would say is about to be junked. So what that means is, oh look, we got dolphins. So what I'm gonna do is, like, this pickaxe that was kind of junk, this stone axe here that was kind of junk, we're gonna pick these up and we're just gonna throw them off into the water. I don't really, once you get out of the wood stuff, there's no point in keeping them around. They're just flat out junk. So throw that away. I usually try to keep my other stuff sort of over here, moved up off onto the side to keep that out of the way. I do find it's useful to keep your torches over here. And then I like keeping sort of the dirt sort of next to this. That way then, oh yeah? Because it's dark enough for the monsters to come after us again, but... And as you can see, the axe does just a fine job for these lower level enemies. I mean, if we were fighting really serious stuff, you'd probably eventually, like I say, when you get iron, maybe having the iron sword is a good idea. But at this stage in the game, it's not really worth it. It is enough to kill like the chickens and everything else. It's sort of one move. So anyway, now the monsters are coming out. Let's go back into our house. Oh, you can see we've got a creeper in there. Creepers, you want to make sure you get them away from your stuff, because they will blow it up, make a massive explosion, and that massive explosion really sucks because it will damage everything else that's around it. So there's also an Enderman over there in the distance, which is kind of funny. Those guys, they don't like when you look at them. They get nervous, but if you do, well, there you can see what happens when you set a creeper off. So let's go back in our house and close the door so that those guys don't come in. That's the other thing you want to do, is you want to make sure that you kind of keep your doors closed. And then I would recommend that, you know, once you have like a little house like this, make sure that you sort of brighten it up on the inside. The monsters tend to not want to come in there when you have torches and stuff lit. So that's probably sufficient for now. We don't really need to spend too much time cooking some of this stuff, so we're going to move all this junkola back in there. And now, let's think about just seeing how far back the rest of this wall goes. Now you can see the shovel makes super short work of dirt. It's nice to have dirt in your inventory, because if you ever do need to use it to build yourself a quick little, say like a staircase, it is good. You can use it to make bridges over lava, so on and so on and so forth. So Don't discount dirt. Dirt actually can be quite useful. As people will say and give you advice, don't ever dig straight up or straight down, especially not if you're standing on it. And the reason for that is if you're digging straight up and you happen to dig into lava, the lava will flow onto your head and kill you. It's the same thing with digging straight down. If you're digging straight down and falling, you might suddenly find that the block that you were standing on that you just dug out falls you down into some major cavern and causes you to burst into flames and die. So we're going to get the rest of this coal. And again, what's nice about having sort of a little inside area like this is we're now free to sort of continue to dig and build this out. Now, one piece of advice is that realistically, in the old game, or rather in the game when it came out, sort of first came out, one thing was people had all sorts of strategies for mining. But one thing is now that isn't really recommended that you just go dig your own mine necessarily. Now that the game sort of has a concept of mines that kind of show up, what's kind of nice about that is if you wander around and you do some exploring, you'll often find these caves, and the caves will typically lead you down somewhere where you're going to find more resources quickly than if you just try to basically strip or pit mine on your own. So I don't really recommend just flat out deciding, okay, let's just dig off down into the ground, into the earth, unless you really need to. So if you're wondering why I'm digging this out here, it was just because we did find some coal, and this way then we don't feel quite so claustrophobic in here. Again, if you want to use this as a staging area for building or doing whatever else we can, eventually probably put a bed or something in here. It makes that kind of a little more comfortable, a little more convenient. I'm just going to kind of square this off. This looks really ugly, so let's fill that in. I'm not super fancy in here, so a dirt ceiling is fine with me. Well, I guess they will come in by the one that's bad is when you get a creeper that's right outside your door. So let's talk about that for a minute. The entrance to your home, if you build the entrance to your home that's too close to the rest of where your actual home is at, if you do find out that you've run into a creeper, then what will happen is he'll come in, he'll do his explosion, and it'll blow up your nice house. So I usually try to keep some sort of like a vestibule where not only can you see where they're coming from, but you make it so that they're not really standing next to all your valuables. So what that means is, for example, putting something like a chest right here next to your door is not a good idea. Move it back into the room like this. That way then if he does happen to blow it up, you don't lose any of that stuff. So time to eat. You can see that'll give us our heart back when we regenerate. That's good. We do still have we'd rotten flesh. What do we need that for? Got some trash tier goods here. It is nice to have this little craftable thing that you can turn on and off. It's kind of cool. So realistically, what we're going to do now, unfortunately, is just wait a little bit. Actually, I think other than realistically worrying about creepers and skeletons, you can probably move out here and explore a little bit. I'm not too afraid of stuff. The biggest thing is when you get stuck or trapped, and a creeper basically gets you, creeper and or skeleton, which you can see there as well. That's just where that creeper blew up. That's not really a mine. We want to find something that looks like a larger sort of natural, like a cavern or cave. You can see that goes down pretty deep, but even that's not quite what I'm talking about. Oh, look, we got all sorts of creatures coming at us. And by the way, if you run into the cactuses, they do hurt you. So if you're ever like, what just hurt me, there's, I think, rose bushes that will get you, and the cactuses, so you do have to watch out for that a little bit. Zombies aren't really fast enough to catch us. There's a water zombie. Looks like we do still have this Enderman creeping around. Enderman will hurt you pretty bad, so watch out for him. Sometimes it's nice to dig in the corner of, like, mountains. Is the other spot to dig if you want to just get deep down into the earth. We got a mess over here. You can sort of escape, especially some of the skeletons if they're going to be shooting arrows. You can sort of juke move through the trees to get away from them. But as another example, if we sort of come over here, now you can see that because we played the old world, this is pretty much the end of our little map. So we can't really go too much farther. Let's see if we can kill this creeper before he blows up. Easiest way to do that is with a bow and arrow. Shoot him from a distance, but he will drop gunpowder if you actually kill him. The gunpowder can be used to make bombs, TNT, that sort of thing. That can be pretty useful. But if you look in the distance, you can see back over there my campfire's burning. So again, having some lights like that can really be a nice way to make sure that you don't get entirely lost if you do go roaming out in the wild, especially in that infinite mode. And then you just want to reckon your east to west, north to south. Let's kill this sheep because I want a bed. I can't remember how many pieces you need to make a bed, but we'll get this food anyway because, again, like we saw, the little stacks of food, it's good to have a nice thick stack of the food before you start going down underground and mining. That way then, if you do get tired or hurt or whatever, you do have a way to replenish yourself. I don't know what's going on here. We got llamas and creepers and zombies over there. We're gonna leave those guys alone. Not really finding much in terms of any great caves at this point, which is okay. We might eventually just decide that we do kind of want to dig sort of down on our own. The other thing to pay attention to is just where you have your bodies of water. So for example, if I start digging down from where I'm at and go over, there is a possibility that what's going to happen is I'm going to breach out into the water, and then that water is going to flow down into my cave and make a big mess. So do pay a little bit of attention to what direction you're going in. That really will help you and make your life easier. What happened over here? Did that thing just take a shit? What the hell was that? Is it like a baby? Oop. Yep. Well, that sucks, because I guess killing the baby ones doesn't get you the wool that I need. So, let's see. These over here are just different types of bricks. This is kind of a neat, like a Arizona desert looking area. And a lot of the different bricks, you can do mostly the same, mostly a lot of the same sort of stuff. It just becomes a matter of, like, for example, if you're collecting the birch trees, you can only stack birch on birch if you wanted to make, for example, like a birch door. If you want to convert them into things like sticks for making tools, it doesn't matter. You can use birch planks or oak planks to make an axe, and the axe functions the same. That doesn't make any difference. That there looks like that's some sugar cane. You can use that to bake and make recipes. Again, I don't really mess with too much of that other recipe stuff so much, because by the time you get to that level, I just find it isn't entirely worth it. Oh, those look like those are rabbits. Rabbits not easy to catch. Can be done. I think I'm going to eat that raw rabbit meat. Where'd it go? Maybe that's not what I got. Rabbit hide. Got it. So you can get sand. So if we, for example, if we dig up some sand, you can put sand in our furnace and make glass out of it. So let's just get some of that. I'll show you what that looks like super quick. The nice thing about glass is that it does allow you to then see outside. If you're building a house or a home, you can see daylight. You can see what monsters may or may not be around, so you don't get ambushed. All that's pretty useful. So let's dress that up super quick so you can see what it looks like. I also, in the meantime, am going to put... Let's see how high we can reach. There we go. Put a torch up high so that we then, again in the distance, we can see it. Come back into our cozy little house here. We're going to use a... We have coal here somewhere. We're going to use some of our coal. And in this case, you can see now that with the sand in the furnace with the coal, that's going to make us some glass. Some of this other stuff that we have is kind of just junk. You can eventually feed... I'm on the llama. Apparently it doesn't like me. I think if you keep riding him, you can eventually tame them. Yeah, he's... Come on, buddy. Apparently I made a friend. I don't know 100% what that does for us at this point, but we'll leave him alone. I really wish I'd found another sheep. But again, some of the stuff like here, we got this rotten flesh. I just throw that out on the map. It'll eventually despawn. Some of these other stone blocks and stuff, I just find that they're annoying. You can use them to combine stuff together to make different looking blocks, but depending on how much you want to be super aesthetic, that's your choice. But like I was saying earlier, those don't really matter in terms of the things that you can build and create. So we're going to leave those alone. We're going to come back over here and check on our furnace. So it looks like we've got a whole bunch of glass. That's good. Let's cook some more of our beef in the meantime. That last piece there. I don't want to waste any more of my coal. So we'll cook this last piece of raw beef. That's good. Which eventually also sees that over here you can make a block of coal. What's nice about the block of coal is, number one, it consolidates your inventory. But the other thing is then if you have a huge stack, so what I was saying earlier about putting all of this food together, so if we're stacking all this stuff like our pork chop and meat and mutton and all the rest of that, what you'll eventually end up with is a huge stack of them, and then you can put that in your furnace to cook with that block of coal in there, and then that will burn for a very long time, and make it so that when we get back to it, it'll be done. I don't know what to do with this rabbit hide either, so we're just going to kind of throw that away. I don't think I can make a bed yet. That's a no, Big Papa. But you can also see that there are some things too that the glass allows us to make. You can make bottles for brewing stuff later. that's again sort of beyond the scope of this. You can make these glass panes. I do like the glass panes a lot. You can see that as long as we have 6 pieces of glass, we can make 16 panes, which is nice. And then if you do get pieces of dye, you can dye those later on. And that's just basically through finding that stuff, whether some of them are cactuses. I think the cacti drop green. So anyway, let's put those away for right now. We're just going to put the rest of this glass back. I'll probably keep, actually, because it's a building material, let's take that away and put it in this chest. You know, organizing, it gets to be tough, but it's worth it. So we'll put a block of coal. We don't need that for now. I'm going to put my gunpowder in there. That's probably good. I don't really need to be carrying the charcoal around. Here's a feather. And this might seem like this is a waste of time, and maybe it is to you if you don't really care, but I find keeping this stuff organized really kind of helps, just in terms of knowing what you have. So our panes of glass, let's just make this kind of nice. We can dig out a little section like this, and then we can take the glass panes that we made and we can put those in here like such. And then what it does, gives us a nice little window so that now we can see outside. So let's see, maybe we'll do that over here as well. So let's see how far back this goes. Okay, now, see where we've dug back over here? This is where what I was saying earlier about being careful about not getting ambushed by some of the enemies. So what we've got here is sort of a little bit of an area that if we fill this in with a little bit of some of our dirt, and we're going to do this here. So where'd they go? This chest here. Let's get our other door. We'll put our door in, and then what we're going to do is put this here. Yeah, it doesn't quite work. I need another side for that, unfortunately. It's better to do it on this side. Absolutely better to do it on this side. So, let's make ourselves a nice... Let's see where the ceiling was at. Perfect. Closes that up. And now we have a second entrance, so if we do run into trouble with our main entrance, we can come back here and use this as sort of a secondary little escape route. And then another nice thing to do sometimes, just depending on how you do or don't like the way that they look, but sometimes I like taking one block out like this and then putting the torch sort of recessed back, just gives it kind of a different look. But this way then, now we at least have 2 different ways to get in and out of our house. You know, a lot of the other little things that you can do. You know, I would say when you're going to go down, you're going to do big mining, make sure you bring ladders. And ladders, you just make those with a whole bunch of sticks. And again, the nice thing about that is then if you do get stuck or trapped or fall, you can just ladder your way out. So maybe we'll go through that at some point later in a different sort of a tutorial fashion. For right now, I think what this leaves us to is we're going to take the rest of this beef and all this stuff, put that back in our box over here. So maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll go hunt and look for the last piece of this wool so that we can make a bed. But again, as we've sort of been discussing a little bit, what's nice is that we now have a full and complete array of survival tools. We have enough to build all sorts of stuff. If you come to this crafting bench, I mean, we can build little stairs. The stairs are just nice if you want to do stuff like this. That way then, hey, you don't have to jump. You can just walk up and down. Makes that kind of nice. A lot of little stuff like that you can do to build to just make your home be kind of a nicer place. It's kind of dopey that we have this chest here in the middle of this wall hallway right now, but I'm just going to leave that alone for the moment. Other things that are useful, making signs so that you remember which way you went. But again, I always like to put torches. Torches are just so useful because you can light your way through caverns so that you would know which way you went. If you look at some of this other stuff, even like some of the wood fences, I just find that you end up with so much stone at some point through your mining that it's just easier to build stuff like this out of stone than it is necessarily to waste a lot of your wood. So I typically keep the wood planks mainly for building things like sticks. Again, we've got a lot of sticks here that we could make. And so what you'll see now is, again, we can make these ladders. And ladders are really good when we're going down, exploring underground. Again, it makes travel quicker and easier if you need to. Things like, just looking at this crafting list now, you've got things you can make paintings with the wool. It can get overwhelming when you just look at the amount of stuff you can make in here. But as I said when I first started this off, a lot of the rest of the stuff now at this point is learning. You have all the essentials at this point to play this game for hours and hours and hours. You've got a base house here set up that's safe. You've got it walled off, blocked off. It's lit, so you don't necessarily have to worry about stuff creeping on you. Oh, got some more coal. Give me that. And more. And more. Okay, well now I'm obsessed and I've got to get it. Give me that. And this is another good technique. I've often made houses where the entrances and exits are basically trapdoors out through a roof. And what's nice about that is, again, you're a little safer from walking outside and finding out that there's a creeper right there who blows up everything that you just spent hours building. I have a buddy of mine who's a typically very calm, collected fellow, but the one time I heard him yell, "What a fuck face!" Was because of a creeper, so they are very frustrating to deal with. But to reiterate, we have a nice little setup here. We kind of have everything that we really need to continue to be successful. So the rest of some of this little food and stuff like that, you could put that in here. I like, again, keeping sort of some of this a little bit separate. It would be nice if they did have some sort of organization thing that you could hit to move them around a little bit. But let's put some of this stuff away. I find that having less of this shit in your inventory when you're out roaming around just makes that easier to contend with. So again, we have you know, our sort of emergency supply stash, which is nice. We got a lot of torches. We got stone. At this point, yeah, you're doing pretty well. The biggest thing that we need to get here now is just a bed, so that if we want to explore outside during the day, we're not limited to getting attacked by the monsters that roam around at night. We have plenty of food. We've got all sorts of food. Let's be brave. Boy. I don't know if you can get like the wool like that from those llamas or alpacas. Is that an alpaca or a llama? I have a feeling it's a alpaca. Oh wow, look at, we got a whole zombie horde coming after us. Easily avoided. The skeletons are worse because the skeletons will shoot you from afar, which really sucks. What is this? Apparently it was a piece of sand. Okay. Ah, there's a sheep. Two for one. Come here. Nice. Ooh, I do have one other small, quick tip to show before we sign off here. Let's get this cow. Sorry, cow. Okay, sun's coming up. That's kind of nice. Oh, look over there. We do have a lava flow. Sometimes it is good to follow the lava flow too. Sometimes that ends up being kind of an indicator of where you're. Sometimes there's underground areas, and you do eventually get these obsidian blocks that you do have to mine if you're gonna get to the end game. Why can I not jump up on this? It's one block. Okay. This is very weird. Why can I not get out of here? Usually one block you can just jump on top of it unless I'm somehow confused. Okay, we'll do it the easy way. Or I thought I was going to do it the easy way. Seriously, what's going on? Why can I not get out of the water? I swear I was watching somebody play earlier and they were having difficulty with this. It's weird. It's like you have to tap the button now to get out of the water. You can't just hold it. That's a little strange. Stuff like this, by the way, too, will get you killed. I recommend, if you've got little holes like that, occasionally try to fill them up, because you'll forget that they're there, and if you're ever running in a panic, that will be the first spot that you fall into and then get subsequently munched to death. So yeah, watch out for stuff like that. See, again, things like this. On occasion, it seems like it's obsessive. But yeah, you'll fall in there, and or a creeper will blow you up or something, and then you'll be really irritated. So we have everything we need at this point to finish, I think, our little tutorial. We're gonna make a bed in here. Might as well kill this pig while he's nearby. It's the end of him. Make sure you close the door to your house when you leave, otherwise monsters will get in there. It's bad news. But now you can see we can make our bed. So now that we have our bed, we're just going to put that over here in the corner. Where's a good spot to sleep? How about right here? That seems weird. Let's do that. Let's put some stuff away. We don't necessarily need all this right now. Let's put a pretty flower in our house. Okay, we got a tulip. Oh, you know what? One other last thing just before we quit. See, and this is where sometimes you'll find yourself staying up playing this game till 4 o'clock in the morning. See this cobblestone wall? Now, you want to make a... You also want to make a... you need a gate. I don't know why that won't... Where's the... Let's do a search for something. I want to find things that are gates. Okay, well, we'll make an oak fence gate. The reason why you want those is so if we look at our little house here, okay, we wanna make sure that creepers don't get too close to our house and blow up our lovely little abode. So one way that we can sort of prevent that a little bit is like this. Creatures in the game, also known as mobs, can jump up over one block. So if you take something like these cobblestone walls, they can't be jumped over. So if we build a wall like this, we now have something that the enemies can't necessarily jump over. The important thing to remember is that you can't jump over it either. You also want to make sure you remove stuff like that, and that you also don't have too many areas. Now here we're probably safe, but you do have to watch and make sure that shit doesn't fall over on top of it so they get on the other side. But this is why you put in the gate. That way then you can see that's made a nice little connector pattern, and now we can come in and out. And actually this is also a nice spot. Let's, while we're in here, we'll make this nice. We're going to take our last little piece of stairs, and we'll just make our stairs. They're going up. So that's our way in and out of our house with our little gate. Sort of prevents that and blocks that off, keeps that nice. And then I always like to put the torches on the end of these little sort of posts. I think that looks just kind of cool. I also just burn myself on my fucking fire, which is idiotic. Can't get quite the corner on that, can I? But as you can see, you can't jump over this. So that means now the enemies can't come sort of inside that area. It's kind of a nice thing to do. Helps them from ambushing you like that from the side. See, they could come up here, for example, into the second area of our little door. But if you do make it 2 things deep, then they can't. So in this case, like if you dig this out, okay, they now can't jump up the side of that. That's too high. And just remember again that you can't either. So if you make these now like this, where this is one space, you know, you would then maybe want to take your cobblestone wall and build it over on the side so that they couldn't get in there. So we're just going to square this off. So at least now you won't come out and have them be basically ambushing you off to the side, more or less, which sort of helps that out. You know, some of this is just squaring things off and making it so that you're not, you know, you don't get stuck on hard edges of things either. Oh, you do get good leather from those llamas. I guess they are llamas too, by the way, because it said I killed them. That might give us enough leather. Now we can probably make armor. Yes, we can. I'm a big fan of boots, so we'll make the boots. And doesn't look like then we can make anything else in the meantime. So let's put our shoes on. Okay, great, we got boots. We'll put the rest of that back. Now, see what it said? Respawn point set. You can only sleep at night. The important part about that is that our respawn point was now set so that if we do die at this point, we will start now back inside this house. So that just gives that an extra little sort of a benefit and a bonus. So before we sign off here, we're going to put the rest of our little sort of ancillary building tools back. We don't really need those. I don't know if there's a way to take the... you can make what... it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Never mind. Don't listen to what I was going to say. Slabs, steps, stairs, all that stuff is just kind of nice. Adds to the usability of your house again, so you don't have to jump over stuff and all that sort of shit. Anyway, that's it. That's your survival primer tutorial. I'm gonna put this on YouTube as well. Leave it there. That way, then, hey, if you want to play it back at a slower speed, if you're confused about anything that I've done or you want further explanation, you can hit me up on Twitter or Mixer. Cigar Goyle is the name. So until then, Mr. C says, eat your vitamins, get your sleep, take care, and talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Good night.